Welcome to this tutorial showing you how to create a piece of artwork in response to the artist Agnes Cecile. And you'll see in Photopea I have opened up a photograph of myself, and the first thing I'm going to do is open up a new project. I'm going to go to Print and A4 and press Create, and that gets me an A4 sized area to work in. Then I'm going to go Image, Transform and Rotate 90 degrees. So I make a landscape piece of A4. Okay, right, back to my photo. I'm going to use the rectangle select to select the whole thing. Press Ctrl C to copy it, and then Ctrl V back in my project to paste it in. I'm then going to use the arrow tool, pressing Shift to resize it without stretching or squishing it. And I'm going to just move it into a central position at a medium size. Okay, now I'm going to grab the magic wand tool, mask off that area and press delete, so get rid of the background in my photo. And I'm going to use the gradient tool, making sure that one of my color switches is in white. I'm going to use the gradient white to nothing, white to transparent. And I'm going to drag towards myself to make the edges of my body blend into white. Okay, and this will take some time, and obviously the direction that you drag the handle is going to dictate the direction of the gradient. And that's me done for this. Okay, just going to zoom back in so you can see better. Okay, now I want to make my portrait look a little bit more like a painted piece. So first up, I'm going to go Image Adjustments, Black and White. And then I'm going to go Image Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. And I'm going to bring both the brightness and the contrast up. And this is going to be something that you'll need to play with for each individual photograph. So for this one, I've brought the contrast right up and the brightness up about 2/3 of the way. Then I'm going to go Image Adjustments and Posterize. Okay, and that's going to kind of separate my picture into different areas, making it a little bit more blocky. I guess what I'm trying to achieve is a look that looks like it's kind of been done in watercolour. Of course, it's a bit limited what you can do, but I think that's quite a good end result. Right, now I'm just using the smudge tool just to smudge down some of the bits at the bottom. So I'm kind of trying to make it look a little bit drippy. Okay, we're going to add to this in a little bit, but I just wanted to make a start with the smudge tool. Okay, that's good. Right, now I want to change the colour of my image. So I'm going to go Image Adjustments, Colour Balance. And I'm going to bring up the red and bring down the green. And that is going to give me a kind of pinky colour. Then I'm going to go Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and I'm going to whack up the saturation so it's a nice shade of magenta. Okay, and now I, on the internet, found this really nice watercolour paint splash. So I'm just going to use the rectangle select tool to select it, Ctrl C to copy it, and then go back to my project, Ctrl V to paste it in. And I'm just using the arrow tool to drag it over and resize it. And I'm going to have these kind of paint splashes coming from the top of my head either side, inspired by the artist. But I don't want these paint splashes to be rainbow, so I'm going to do Image Adjustments, Black and White, click OK, and then same as I did with my portrait, Image Adjustments, Colour Balance, whip up the red and down the green, click OK, and then image adjustments, hue saturation, and whip up the saturation. Okay, looking good. Now I've got that the colour that I want, I'm going to right click on that layer and click duplicate layer, and that's going to give me the same again. But I don't want it to look quite so similar, so I'm going to just drag it so it goes the other way around. You can flip horizontally, but I want them to be different, so I'm kind of stretching it a little bit further than the other one. And then I also got this paint splash off of Google, and I'm going to use the rectangle select to select that, Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it in. And the reason I got this is to help me to just make the two sides a little bit different from each other. Okay, and I'm just using this just to overlay on certain parts of the splash. And I'm just going to duplicate that. Maybe put one a little bit bigger over here. Okay. And I'm going to duplicate that and bring that over the other side. Looking good. Bit bigger. Okay, and this is helping me to make those paint splashes look a little bit more organic. Obviously there's a little bit of a difference in tone, so I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and Hue Saturation, and I'm just going to bring the lightness up a bit. Click OK. And I think I'm going to do the same for that one as well. Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, just bring the lightness up just a little bit. Let's move that out of the way so I can see it. Yep, okay, and then I'm going to drag that down. There we go. Okay. Right, so I'm going to duplicate that again. A little bit more over there. Maybe spin it so it's a different bit showing. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay. Just going to make that one a little bit lighter as well now I see it. There we go. And I think I might move that down as well, just underneath. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna grab the eraser tool, and I'm just going to take, making sure it's a good enough size, a few bits off down the bottom of this one, because I don't want the bottoms of the two to look too mirrored. Okay. And you'll see from Google, I've grabbed these paint drips, and I don't want them to be rainbow coloured. So I'm going to Image Adjustments, Black and White, Image Adjustments, Colour Balance, and whipping up the red and the green down a bit. And then Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and whipping up the saturation. Okay, so now I have drips relatively the same colour as the rest of the picture. I'm going to grab these two drips here and press Control C to copy them and Control V to paste them in, and there they are in the centre. I'm just going to use the arrow tool to place them, and they look like they work really well there. So I'm going to go to that layer, right click, duplicate layer, and then use the arrow tool to bring them down to the bottom. And they're looking good there too. Duplicate that layer and make some more drips down the bottom. A bit too high there, I think. I think what I might do also is just get the handle and drag them so they flip over, so they don't look so similar. And then I'm going to go to the drop down layer and go to multiply, just so they blend a little bit better. I think I might also grab the smudge tool and just smudge the top, making sure I have the right layer selected. Just smudge the top into the t-shirt. Then I'm going to duplicate the drips again. Use the arrow tool to move them. And I'm going to put them coming out of the beard here. And again, I'm going to use the smudge tool just to smudge that into the top of the beard so it blends in nicely. And while I have the smudge tool, I'm just going to use it on those drips to the left, just to round off the edges a bit, make them a bit less like I've cut them from another picture. Okay. Right, back to the drips, and I'm going to choose another pair. So these ones here. It's important to use a variety of drips so that your piece looks like a real painting and more organic, rather than repeating the same thing over and over again. So we'll put these drips here. And I think I'm going to go to the drop down menu and just run through those to get it looking a little bit more like it blends into the colour splash. Then I'm going to duplicate that and I think put some over here. That works nicely. Maybe stretch them out a little bit. There we go. Okay, duplicate that layer. And again, that works quite nicely there. But I think I'll flip it just so it looks a bit different. Okay. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer again. And bring it over here. It's a bit too long at the moment, so I think I'll shrink that down, make a shorter drip. Again, find that place where it looks like it is actually coming from the colour splash. And that's looking pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to merge the layers. So I click on the top layer and hold shift and click on the bottom layer, and then right click on the bottom layer and press merge layers. And that's got all the pieces on one layer now. So it means that I can do a little bit of changing of colour. So I'm going to go image adjustments, hue saturation. And I'm going to make it just a little bit more purple. So I'm going to change the hue and the saturation just to make it subtly more purple. Bring up the brightness a bit to make it a bit more delicate. And yeah, it's looking good. Okay, now I want to put some different colours into it. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to go to the colour select tool and I'm going to grab a blue, and then I'm going to go to the paintbrush tool and make it quite nice and big. There you go. And I'm just randomly going to paint blue over areas of the purple, the splashes and the drips. Okay, that's good. Right, then I'm going to grab a different colour. I think hot pink, something like that. It's nice. Click OK. Same again, use the paintbrush just to paint over some areas in your piece. Don't worry about how you're going onto the white or anything. Just make sure that you cover the bits of purple that you want to be those different colours. Okay, now I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to drag that bar up. And I'm going to blur those colours together. Not too much, but enough so you can see a nice blend. That's good. Okay, and then on that layer, I'm going to go to the drop down menu above it, and I'm going to scroll down through those until I get to hue. Okay, it's generally hue that gives you the result that you want. And yep, looking good. I now have a piece that has lots of different colours going on. Okay, right, now to add some Agnes Cecile style butterflies. And I grabbed this butterfly off of the internet, and it had a white background which I masked off and deleted. And now I'm going to go image adjustments black and white, image adjustments colour balance, and bring up the red and bring the green down. Click OK, and then image adjustments hue saturation, and pumping up the saturation so that it looks like it will fit. Okay, then I'm going to use the rectangle select tool to select it, Control C to copy it, go back to my project, Control V to paste it in, and you can see it there in the middle. I'm going to use the arrow tool to move it about and resize it, and I'll put it there for now. Okay, right, that's my first one. I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I think put it up here, but I'm going to flip it. So edit, transform, flip horizontal, and I think I'll put it up there. I'm going to change the color on it, image adjustments, hue saturation, and slide the hue and make it a blue butterfly. That's nice. Okay, right, and then I grabbed another butterfly, and I have already done the color change on this one to save time. And I rectangle select it, Control C to copy it, back to my project, Control V to paste it in, and then using the arrow tool again to resize and move my butterfly to where I want it. Down here is nice. Okay, and then duplicate that layer. I think up here's nice, but again, I'm going to change the color on that one, image adjustments, hue saturation, change the hue down to a nice light blue, click OK. All right, and I grabbed another butterfly, and again, I've already done the recoloring. Rectangle select, Control C to copy, Control V to paste it in, and use the arrow tool to move it about. You can also rotate it like that. I think this one I prefer to go into there, so I'm just going to drag that one up to there, I think, and put this one into here. Yeah, I like this one better here. Okay. Right, it's nice. And I'll duplicate that layer. And I think I'll drag one over to the right here, spin it round. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, right, I think that's enough butterflies. And I think we're almost there. I'm just going to go back to that bottom layer, and I'm going to grab the eraser tool again, because I just want to get rid of a few of these bits up here on the splash. It's feeling a little bit too mirrored to the other side there. Okay, all good. I think this piece is done and dusted. I hope you find this tutorial helpful.